Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Kamlesh Patel and today we are going to talk about Agile with Scrum. So let's get it started. So first, let's understand what is Agile. Agile is the ability to create and respond to change. It is a way of dealing with and ultimately succeeding in an uncertain and turbulent environment. The authors of the Agile Manifesto chose Agile as the label for this whole idea because that word represented the adaptiveness and respond to change, which was so important to their approach. Now, Scrum is a framework. Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, team, and organization generate value through adaptive solution for complex problems. So Agile is a broad term. Under the Agile umbrella, Scrum is a framework. Okay, so let's proceed with Scrum. So Scrum has been used by many companies, many big organizations, Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, IBM, Siemens, Nokia, and many more companies. Scrum has been used for several kind of developments. It includes commercial software development, in-house development, contract development, financial applications, embedded systems, video game development, satellite softwares, websites, mobile phone applications, network switching application, and lots of other kinds of development. Scrum is also used for hardware development. So what are the characteristics of Scrum? Scrum has self-organizing teams, small self-organizing teams, and product progresses in a series of month-long sprints. So there is a concept called sprint. We will look into the upcoming slides. Requirements are captured as items in a list of product backlog. There is no specific engineering practices prescribed. Uses generative rules to create an agile environment for delivering projects. Scrum is one of the agile processes. So if we are going to use the Scrum, so if we will check, is Scrum the right tool for our project or not? So we have a Ralph Stacey matrix. Using that matrix, we can know that we should use Scrum or not. So let's say to begin with any project, we need to understand three things. First is requirements, what we have to develop, then people who will develop, and technologies, how we will do it, how we will achieve our goal. Okay, so I have mentioned some points here: close to certainty and far from certainty. So let's say if your product is very simple, very straightforward, everything is known, almost 90 to 95% is known, then we can go with the traditional software engineering methods like waterfall methods. And if your product is complicated, it is something new, but again, there is a more known than unknown. Suppose we have to build a bridge. We are building bridge since long time, but the bridge we have to develop, it will be some new technology, some new trends and tracks. Okay, so in this condition, we can go with the traditional methods. Also, we can use some agile frameworks like Kanban. So for this kind of product development, Kanban is the best suitable framework. If our product is complex, we have to develop a a complex product, then we can go with the Scrum. Here in complex product, more unknown than known. We don't know how our product will perform in the market. Okay, so in this condition, we can use Scrum. And the next is chaotic. If our product is chaotic, almost everything is unknown. We don't know anything. Then we can go with the lean startup. and we can have some quick action. Then we think and react. Okay. So let's move ahead. So Scrum is consist of many things. We have a Scrum team, we have artifacts, we have events, we have commitments. Okay, so let's go one by one. So we have 5 events. We called it 353, the magic of 353. So we have 5 events, including daily Scrum, sprint planning, sprint review, sprint retrospective, and sprint itself is an event. We have 3 accountabilities: product owner, Scrum master, and developers. We have 3 commitments: product goal, sprint goal, and definition of done. And we have 3 artifacts: product backlog, sprint backlog, and product increment. We will go one by one and we will see what these things are. Okay, so this is the design, or we can say it's a one diagram. So this is the product backlog here. So product backlog refers a product goal. Then here is a sprint backlog. So once our sprint will start, then we will have a sprint planning meeting. Then we will come up with the sprint backlog, and sprint goal is tied up with the sprint backlog. Uh, During the sprint, so a sprint can be a 1 month or less duration. So during the sprint, we will have a daily Scrum meeting. So in the daily Scrum meeting, we will discuss the next 24 hours work, or we can say we will discuss on the goal of the sprint. And then after the sprint, we will deliver a increment product, a product increment. And this product increment is tied up with the definition of done. After that, to review that increment, or to inspect and adopt that increment, we will have a sprint review meeting. And a sprint review meeting, we will see in detail about a sprint review meeting. But in a sprint review meeting, we will inspect and adopt that product increment. Then after that, we will have a retrospective meeting in which we will discuss the definition of done, the challenges we faced, what things went well, and we can discuss many things in the retrospective meeting. Okay, so let's move ahead. Also, what is the sprint? Sprints are the heartbeat of Scrum, where ideas turn into value. They are fixed length event of 1 month or less to create consistency. A new sprint starts immediately after the conclusion of the previous sprint. There is no gap between 2 sprints. The duration of the sprint should be constant, so we will have a better rhythm. And all the necessary work to achieve the product goal, including sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, and retro meeting, happen within the sprint. Every event will occur or will fall within the sprint. So we have some traditional methods, and now we are talking about Scrum. So we can say traditional means sequential. We go into the sequence. So first we discuss on requirements, then after the requirements we come up with design, then we code that thing, and then we test, then we deliver. So this is the sequential, rather doing all of one thing at a time. So in Scrum, teams do a little of everything all the time. We do requirement, design, coding, testing, all together at a time. Okay, so in sequential, we do one thing at a time, and in Scrum, we do all things at a time. So during the sprint, we avoid change. We respond to change according to the agile, we respond to change, but within the sprint, during the sprint, we avoid change. So our sprint goal will not disturb. Then we have a Scrum framework. We have, as we discussed, we have accountabilities. We can say a Scrum team consists of 3 roles, or we also say them accountabilities: product owner, Scrum master, and developers. We have 5 events: planning, review, retro, daily, and sprint is an event. Then we have 3 artifacts: product backlog, sprint backlog, and product increments. So let's go one by one. What are the 3 accountabilities? Product owner, Scrum master, and developers. So these are 3 accountabilities or roles. So what is the product owner? So product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product. He is also responsible to developing and explicitly communicate the product goal to the team, to the developers. And he's creating and clearly communicating product backlog items to the team. He is responsible to manage, organize, and order the product backlog items, ensuring that the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood by the team. Now let's come to the Scrum Master. So Scrum Master is a very sophisticated role. Scrum Master is responsible for establishing Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. He is a servant leader responsible for enacting Scrum values and practices into the team and into the organization. He is responsible to remove the impediments, whatever the impediments, challenges, blockers team is facing. He is responsible to coaching the team members in self-management and cross-functionality. So ultimately, his job is to make the team self-sufficient, self-managing. He helps improve team productivity in any possible way, ensuring that all Scrum events take place and are positive and productive, and all the events kept within the time box. He helps the product owner to find techniques for effective product goal definition, productive backlog refinement, product backlog management, and many things. He teach the team, lead the team, coach the team, and the organization as well. So now let's come to the developers. Developers are the people in the Scrum team that are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. The developers are cross-functional. They are programmers, they can be testers, user experience designers, BAs, etc., etc. Creating plan for the sprint backlog. They are responsible to product increment. Instilling quality by adhering to a definition of done. Adapting their plan each day towards the sprint goal and holding each other accountable as professional. So now let's move to the events, Scrum events. So let's begin with the sprint planning meeting. So who attend this meeting? So sprint planning will be organized by, it is facilitated by Scrum Master and whole Scrum team. Scrum team means all 3 accountabilities: Scrum Master, Product Owner, and developers will be the attendee of this sprint planning meeting. Agenda: discuss top priority product backlog items and team select which to do. Why we do it? Know what will be worked on and understand it enough to do it. Now we come up with the sprint goal and sprint backlog. Sprint planning Team select item from the product backlog. They can commit to completing. Sprint backlog is created. Tasks are identified and sized, and high-level design is considered. Suppose as a vacation planner, I want to see photos of the hotels. So we will create a task for them. We will create tasks like code the middle tier, code the user interface, write the test cases, do the performance testing, etc., etc. Okay, now daily Scrum. So daily Scrum is a very important meeting of the Scrum. So it's a 15-minute time box daily event. Attendees will be developers only. If Scrum Master can join this meeting, no outside person should join this meeting. We should not disturb the developers for at least 15 minutes. Developers do this meeting whatever the way they want. And the consistent place and time should be there for daily Scrum. And developers inspect their progress toward the sprint goal. Developers create a plan for the next 24 hours. It's not a problem solving meeting. It's not a status meeting, and it's help avoid the other unnecessary meetings. Now, the sprint review meeting. This is a collaborative working session. It's not a demo session only. Attendee, Scrum team, and stakeholders. So in this meeting, team discuss and inspect below points. Team discuss the sprint, increment and sprint outcomes, current business conditions, product backlog, and progress towards product goal. Then team review and discover and rearrange the info. Then on the basis of all discussion, team will update the product backlog. Now, let's have a look to the sprint retrospective. So retrospective, periodically take a look at what is working and what is not working. So the purpose of the sprint retro is to plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness. It's typically around 30 minutes. And this is the last event of the sprint. And in this meeting also, only Scrum team can participate. We inspect the sprint and definition of done in this meeting. Come up with the adoption of actionable improvement and definition of done. There are many ways to do the sprint retrospective. So whole team gathers and discuss what they like to. Start doing, stop doing, and continue doing. Means if something is working, then we will continue doing it. We find out something which would be good to start with, then we will start doing that. If something is not valuable, it is not giving result to us, then we can stop doing it. So this is just one way of many ways to do a sprint retrospective. Okay, now sprint Scrum artifacts. So artifacts, we have 3 artifacts. So let's begin with the product backlog. So the product backlog is the list of all desired work on the project, is the requirements. Ideally expressed such that each item has value to the users or customer of the product, prioritized by the product owner and reprioritized at the start of each sprint. So here is a sample product backlog. Okay, so like this, we will have a product backlog items, and like this, we can estimate them in hours or in user story points on the basis of complexity. So this is the kind of requirements we have break down into the small parts. Now, sprint goal. Next, Next artifact is sprint backlog. Okay, so here is a sprint goal. Okay, so a sprint backlog is here. So managing the sprint backlog, individuals sign up for work of their own choosing. Work is never assigned into the sprint backlog. Estimated work remaining is updated on the daily basis in the daily stand-up meeting. Any team member can add, delete, or change the sprint backlog. Work for the sprint emerges every day. If work is unclear, define a sprint backlog item with a larger amount of time and break it down later. Update the work remaining as more becomes known. So here is a sample of a sprint backlog. And we had a sprint goal as well. So it's a commitment. So it's a short statement of what the work will be focused on during the sprint. Okay. Suppose in the sprint 7, we have come up with the sprint goal that we will implement basic shopping cart functionality, including add, remove, and update. And suppose in next sprint, we have set a sprint goal like the checkout process, pay for an order, pick, shipping, order, gift wrapping, etc. Okay, and this is the sprint burn down chart. So a sprint burn down chart is a matrix uh, used to check the performance, is the performance key performance indicator. So it will burn the time, it will burn the story points or estimate whatever the estimation method we are using. It will burn the like we have estimated in the terms of story points. So it will burn the story point in respect of time. So suppose we have come up with the 800 hours or story point, whatever. On the first day we are on 0. On the second day we progress something, and on the third, fourth day, this is the 29 and this is the 6th. Suppose this is the, I think this is the 1 month sprint. On the 6th of, we made some progress, we come down on this graph. On the 13th, we more come down, and or the 20th, we come down up to 200 points. And then on 24th, we finish all the work in the sprint. So it's a simple, again, burn down chart. And this is the another thing, scalability. So what is scalability? Means we can scale the Scrum for the larger number of people. So typically individual teams is 7 plus minus 2 people. Scalability come from teams of team. Factor in scaling what the type of application we are building, what is the team size, team dispersion, project duration, and Scrum has been used on project over 1,000 people. So scaling through the Scrum of Scrum, this is the one of the thing we can scale the Scrum through the Scrum of Scrum. So it's a teams of teams. So in the Scrum of Scrum, we divide them vertically. We will have a programmers, testers, DBAs, UI designers, and Scrum masters in a different teams. Okay, so thank you very much for listening me. If you have any question, please put down in the comment section. Thank you.